All of Maharishi's disciples are very familiar with Ojas breathing. But many people whom I met have no clue what Ojas means. But this group consists of the most senior disciples, and I'm sure all of you know about it. Still, as a medical person, I wanted to correlate it to biology. So, this speech is a step in that direction. I may disagree in some places, but the idea is definitely not to contradict the great wisdom of Maharishi. I hope you will give it a patient hearing and see the reasoning behind it and share your comments. So, Ojas, this is my Guru, Swami Satyananda Paramahamsa. My pranams to him. Of course, Maharishi, my greatest regard for a person here in Tamil Nadu is Maharishi, and my pranams to him. And also salutations to all the gurus, yogis, and jnanis who strive tirelessly to give us this knowledge so that we can live healthy and happy. So now what is Ojas? Ojas, according to the Ayurvedic text, it's the fluid of life. It's the subtle essence of all the vital fluids. So all the yogis have talked very highly of Ojas. Swami Shivananda Saraswati of Rishikesh has said that Ojas is the finest physical manifestation of consciousness. It's a gateway between cosmic consciousness and physiology, between spiritual and mental aspects. As the subtlest physical particle, it is the container of cosmic energy and transmitted to the body for its effective functioning. And Vallallar and Maharishi has said that it is pure energy or Sutta Sakti, they call it. The Ojas in Sanskrit means vigor and vitality. Vitality is best understood as the essential energy for the functioning of the body and mind. The energy is the driving force for the heart, lungs, blood circulation, digestive and excretory functions of the body. And all the mental functions like cognition, thoughts, feelings, intelligence, memory are also dependent on this energy. So, Ojas is that essence which gives the tissues energy, strength, and endurance. It protects the health and vitality at the cellular level and thereby influencing all the bodily functions and the physiological processes. So, physiologically, Ojas is responsible for the health, vitality, strength, immunity, longevity, reproductive function, immunity, and the emotional well-being. At the psychological level, it's responsible for the emotional well-being and intelligence and memory. And they say Ojas is the basis of bliss, joy, and happiness. At the spiritual, this is the same repeated. At the spiritual level, it lays the foundation for spiritual growth, which can take one towards self-realization and samadhi, that is the union with the primordial consciousness. The Ojas personality. A person who has increased levels of Ojas has a vibrant personality, dynamic in actions, charming in nature, and with attractive eyes. Dikshanyam, we call it. And you would have seen all the yogis and gurus have such a powerful eyes, we call it Dikshanyam, and a glowing skin. That is the tejas. The face itself is sort of luminant. Swami Vivekananda says, the man who has much ojas is the leader of men. It gives a tremendous power of attraction. All our yogis and rishis are proof of that. Even Maharishi, when you see the eyes, they almost are so attractive because that is the effect of the sadhana that they have done, and it shows the level that they have attained in the spiritual journey. So now about the formation of ojas. Now, how is Ojas formed in the body? Ayurveda is the first science that has described Ojas in detail. According to Ayurveda, Ojas is the subtlest and supreme essence of all the vital fluids. It's subtler than the Saptadhatus or the seven formative tissues of the body And so it's called the eighth dhatu. All the time, most of us, we think the dhatus are only 7, but Ojas is called the eighth dhatu. But in some texts, it's also called an upadhatu of the seventh dhatu, which is the Shukra dhatu. So what is a dhatu? The dhatu is a formative tissue and the basis of our physical body and its functions. They are derived from the food that we eat and its nutritional content. That is why the food plays an important role in every aspect of our life. It is true that you are what you eat. Ayurveda and Siddha systems have described the formation of 7 dhatus beautifully. So this is the picture of the 7 dhatus. Of course, you have the rasa, that is the extract from the food. We'll come in detail later on. So from that you have the rakta or the blood, the mamsa or the muscles, the meda, that is the fat, asti is the bones, majja is the bone marrow, and shukra dhatu is the reproductive tissue. So up to this, all of us are very familiar with that. But then after that, beyond that, there is one thing. Beyond the shukra dhatu is ojas, which is the pure energy and responsible for immunity. So the point to note here is that Ojas is not Shukra Dhatu and it is something beyond it. So this is the same thing in text what we have already seen in the picture. So though these tissues are physical, they are derived from the energy only. Our ancestors thousands of years ago have realized that energy and matter are interchangeable. So the primordial consciousness or the absolute consciousness, which we refer to as Irai or God, is the source of this whole universe. So this is called the seed or Bindu. In Tamil, we call it Bindu. And this static state, when it becomes dynamic and starts moving, it becomes the primordial energy or Nadam, which means vibration. So this is the cosmic creative vibration. So Adi Shankara praises and describes Shakti as Saundarya Lahari, a beautiful wave. This energized consciousness is the beginning of all creation. So whenever we talk about Vindu Nadam, we should keep in mind that it's the male and female aspects of creation, both universal and also in human beings. One is ethereal and the other one is material and are not the same. So according to this, our Shastras, this primordial energy is called prana. Prana is the life force. Everybody understands prana and they equate it with life. When someone says prana has left, that means that that person ceases to live. In Upanishads, prana is precisely differentiated. For example, Mahaprana refers to the cosmic prana and the instrument of consciousness. This pervades the whole universe. It vibrates through all life forms from the tiniest atom to the largest galaxy. It enters our body through breath, but breath and prana are not the same. Prana is the subatomic energy, and air and oxygen are its grosser forms. During breathing, air and oxygen go directly to the lungs and blood to give us the physical energy, and the prana goes into the physical passages called nadis. We have already done this in our previous presentation, and this constitutes the astral body, and this is what the Siddhas refer to as vasi. So this prana can be directed by our will and the power of imagination to any part of our body. So this is also the basis of pranic healing. And that's how many Mahans and Gurus, they're able to heal other people just with their looks or touch. So where the mind goes, the prana follows and it can reach any person even at a distance. So this prana works in different levels in the body, the physical, energetic, and the spiritual. In the physical level, it works in the cells, tissues, blood, fluid, and marrow. In the energetic level or the subtle body, it works in the form of resonant vibrations or heat, sound, electromagnetism, etc. And at the spiritual level, The same prana is a subtle vibration as the divine light. Maharishi has already given us the simple order of creation, and all of you are very familiar with it, so I don't have to go into the detail. The consciousness, energy, subatomic particles, atoms, molecules, panchabhutas, matter, and life. So we always, especially in Maharishi's things, we talk about three bodies: causal body, subtle body, and the physical body. But I feel we should talk about three energies, which is not often talked about. So that's the causal energy, the subtle energy, and the physical energy. So the causal energy is the ethereal or the spiritual energy, or you may call it atomic or nuclear energy. And the subtle energies are the light waves, radio waves, electromagnetism, photons, and thermal energy, and all that. And the physical energy is electrical and chemical. So the causal energy is the subtlest, and the physical energy is the gross one, and the astral energy is in between them. Though the causal energy is the source, we are not able to draw that energy and function fully only on that energy. The plants do the wonderful job of absorbing that energy, and with the help of the Panchabhutas, air, heat from the sun, and water and earth, then they make food to give us both material and cosmic energy to sustain our body and our mind. The plants produce chemicals which our bodies can convert into electrical energy. With this in the background, we will see the function of Saptadhatus and the Ojas. So we saw that dhatu is the formative tissue and the building block of our body. It has both anatomical and physiological aspects. That is, each dhatu has a structure and also a specific function, such as nutrition, dynamic integration, and coordination of the other function systems of the body and intellect. So rasa dhatu is the first one, which is the end product of digestion. The food that we eat is digested into its basic elements in the stomach and small intestines. Digestion means the process by which the gross food that we eat, which cannot be assimilated by the body as such, is refined into its basic components, which can be absorbed by the body. This absorption takes place in the small intestines, and the juice containing these nutrients or components is known as ahara rasa in Ayurveda and is absorbed into the blood vessels. This is a colorless liquid, and we can equate it to the plasma. That is the structure, and the function is providing all the other dhatus the necessary basic ingredients. So next is the Rakta Dhatu. So to this plasma, if you add red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, then it gets a red color and is known as Rakta or blood. That is its structure. This is responsible for the distribution of all the nutrients to each part of the body, and also the formation of all the other dhatus, as the plasma in blood contains all the absorbed nutrients. And also it is the carrier of oxygen, nutrients, antibodies, etc. to each cell of the body. And Mansa Dhatu is all the muscles. This includes the muscles and flesh in our body. That is the structure. And the function is responsible for all the movements in the body. These movements enable us to function as an efficient single unit, performing various actions necessary for our safety and livelihood. So next is the Meda Dhatu. Meda is the adipose tissue or the fat tissue. This is the fat, and it is important for our beauty. It is necessary for the function is, it's necessary for the formation of the cell membrane of the trillions of cells in our body. Fat enables the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. And fat also serves as a storehouse of energy. Asti Dhatu, it is the bones and cartilage. So the structure is, we know the bones, which are strong to hold our body, and along with the cartilage and ligaments, they form the joints. Together, they enable the weight bearing and transmission of our body weight, and they give us the flexibility and the movement and smooth functioning during all our activities. The Majja Dhatu is the bone marrow and the nervous tissue. This is the soft tissue found inside the bones and inside the cranium, that is the brain. So the nervous system also is made up of the same fat as the Majja. So it is in the bones, the Majja produces the red blood cells and the stem cells. So the next comes the Shukra Dhatu or the generative tissue. This is the seventh dhatu and the final dhatu in the formation cycle. Shukra means bright, pure, and radiant, and also white, like pearl. There is a lot of confusion about this dhatu. In general, it is equated to the sperm and semen or the seminal fluid. As we have already seen about every dhatu, that they have a structure and a function. So, Shukra dhatu should have an anatomical structure. In the males, it is the testis, prostate, seminiferous tubules, glands, and the sperms. In females, it's the uterus, ovary, fallopian tubes, and the glands and the ovum. And the functional aspect of it is called the succulum in the males and shronitum in the females. And the succulum, of course, is the mature sperms and semen. And females, shronitum is the mature ovum and also the cervical and vaginal secretions. That slide is missing. Then the order of formation. Now we've seen the 7 dhatus, but it has been passed on across generations that one dhatu is formed from the previous dhatu and is the precursor of the next dhatu. So we cannot question the age-old wisdom, but after we know the chemical composition of these structures, this theory does not seem plausible. Medical knowledge tells us that muscle is made up of mainly protein and fat is not part of it, only 1% fat. Similarly, bone cannot be made from fat. So I've given it a lot of thought and searching, and the rational explanation would be that they are formed sequentially one after another from rasa and rakta and not one from the other. So what is the basis of my saying this? To substantiate it, I want to discuss it in some detail. We'll see the constituents of food and the constituents of dhatus in some detail to understand this. Now, what are the sources and constituents of food that we take? The earth element contains all the basic materials, minerals, chemicals, vitamins, etc. And our food is the amazing combination of panchabhutas, as I have already told you. So this food contains carbohydrates, protein, fat, minerals, vitamins, trace elements, and chemicals of medicinal value. Apart from this, they also contain prana shakti. But here we are talking only about the gross elements. When we see the fresh fruits and vegetables, we are tempted to eat them immediately. But after 2-3 days, they lose their freshness and appear lifeless and stale. Why? Their content of carbohydrate, protein, and fat are still the same in them. But what is missing is the pranic content. So when we consume food, it is digested in the alimentary canal with the help of the acids and enzymes. And as I told you already, digestion is the means of breaking down the food that we eat into their basic components. So here the carbohydrates are broken down to glucose, protein into amino acids, fat into fatty acids. And these are absorbed from the small intestine into the bloodstream. This fine pulp is called chyle, which contains both absorbable and non-absorbable parts. The non-absorbable part is sent down as feces. The absorbable part and its juice is the rasa dhatu or the ahara rasa or the essence of food. This nutrients in the blood combine with the oxygen from the lungs. So then these amino acids go for bodybuilding. Glucose is taken by the insulin into the cells and constitute the energy of our body, and the fatty acids go to the storage of energy. So this is present inside the blood vessel. This plasma This ahara rasa is present inside the blood vessels and inside and outside of every cell throughout the body. So now we'll see the composition of all the other dhatus. So Ras dhatu already this has come. So Rakta has got two parts, liquids and solids. Liquid is the plasma or the rasa. Solid is RBC, WBC, and platelets. So it contains water, proteins, albumin, globulin, fibrinogen, necessary for the clotting of blood, and prothrombin. And in this plasma, glucose, fatty acids, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, hormones, electrolytes are all present. And the solid portion, of course, as I told you, it is the RBC, WBC, and platelets. This is carried by the blood to each part of the body. And muscle forms 75% water and about 25% of protein, about little less, and about 2% of fat and glycogen. So apart from the protein, it is a little amount, 1% I think is glycogen and then fat. So they provide the energy for proper contractility, and also it contains magnesium, potassium, calcium, and sodium that are needed, and they're taken from the blood itself. So the main part of the protein goes to muscle formation. And then the Meda dhatu or the fat, it contains of 99% fat. We take oils, ghee, milk, animal fats with our food, and the glucose that is not used up by the body for energy is also converted to fat. This fat is stored in cells called adipocytes. And these cells have a small flat nucleus and a little cytoplasm, but otherwise it's filled, 99% is filled with droplets of fat. And this is a storehouse of energy and also stores the vitamins A, D, E, and K. So next is bones or the asthi. It's got 33% of minerals called the calcium and phosphate mainly, and it's got 33% collagen. Collagen is almost 90% protein, and then it has water, minerals, and fat, and other fibrous tissue, etc. So from fat, which was the previous dhatu, which is composed mainly of only fat, all these things cannot come. So this should be taken directly from the blood. So it is not logical to think that fat produces the bone. So the next thing is majja or the marrow. Bone marrow is the spongy jelly-like material found in the cavity of bones. It's of two types, yellow marrow and the red marrow. Yellow marrow is mostly fat. It contains stem cells that produce cartilage and bone cell. It also stores fat and nutrients for red bone formation and to use and to maintain body functions. So red bone marrow contains fibrous tissue and blood-forming stem cells. All the red blood cells and platelets and 70% of the white blood cells are also formed from the red marrow. And next comes the Shukra Dhatu. As we saw in the previous dhatus, each one has a structural and functional form. So it's reasonable that Shukra Dhatu also has a structure and a function. I've already talked about it. So this structural form contains muscles, fibrous tissue, and glandular tissues, and forms the testis, prostate, uterus, and ovary. They also contain the primordial oocytes that later mature into ova in women, and primordial spermatids which mature into sperm in men. So the functional aspect of Shukra Dhatu is in men, it has got two parts, a solid part and a liquid part. The solid part is the sperm, the liquid part is the seminal plasma. In women, the solid part is the ovum, and liquid part is the vaginal and cervical secretions. So this also contains amino acids, fructose, cholesterol, and then PUFA, the polyunsaturated fatty acids like omega-3 and omega-6. It also has calcium, zinc, magnesium, sodium, and hormones also. So the functional aspect in women is the vaginal secretions, mature ovum, and also the menstrual blood and the hormones. So the generalized wrong conception in Shukradhatu the Shukradhatu means it's equated with seminal fluid. Shukra not only denotes semen in male, but the totality of reproductive tissues and the neuroendocrine mechanisms essential for procreation and vigor. So it is two parts. One is the Stula Shukra and the Sukshma Shukra. So Stula Shukra is that is the gross form is the seminal fluid, semen, ovum and all that. But the Sukshma or the subtle part of the Shukra Dhatu is the androgens, testosterone, estrogen and the progesterone. So it is present in every part of the body and is responsible for the generation of new cells and tissues and overall development. The substance which controls the function of reproduction of any form in the body is Shukradhatu. So Charaka says it's like the oil in sesame seeds, and Shushruta says it's ghee, like the ghee in the milk, which is not perceivable, but it is present in an abhyakta or the unmanifest form. So in this transformative process, we can see that each dhatu is going from gross to the subtle, from outside to inside. So Shukra dhatu is subtle than the others. As they become subtler, they are more powerful because the pranic content is becoming more and more in each of the dhatus. Shukra dhatu has more pranic content because it has to produce life. So when you see the composition of each dhatu, it seems impractical that one was derived out of the previous one. So I searched for evidence, and then I found the evidence in the sequential development in Ayurveda. It's called Kedara Kulya Nyayam. You can see the picture here. I don't know if it's very clear to you. So here we have the digestion process taking place, and then the rasa dhatu, rasam is coming, and then it is traveling like this in the blood. So the blood takes whatever is necessary from this constituents and then forms the blood. And the next, the muscles take most of the proteins and form the muscles. And then the next, the maida fat, all the fat comes in and then forms the adipose tissue. The calcium, phosphate, all that come in here and then form the bones. And then the majja takes all the finer part of the fat tissue. This is also a sort of fat tissue, but the finer aspects of the fat tissue. And then the last dhatu, according to this, forms the Shukra dhatu, which we have described. Of course, in this picture, it's not clear. This thing, this has to go straight like this. And once all these chemical components are finished, what remains here is only the pure prana. And that pure prana is the Ojas. So we can say from rasa, that is, I already told you that even with the food digestion, it's not only the chemical components, it's the prana also, or the life force energy. So from rasa, there is rakta and prana, and from the rakta, others decide. The mamsa and prana, rakta, and then the fat and prana, the bone and prana, marrow and prana, shukra and prana, and then Ojas is the pure energy without any of these chemical components. That is what Ayurveda says about Ojas. So if we understand it like this, many things fall in place. We have to remember that the source of all the dhatu is only energy, the prana shakti. And from energy, the material things are formed, and then in the body, this matter is converted again into energy necessary for the vital life process, and this cycle continues throughout the day and night as long as we live. So this prana shakti does not come to us only from our food, but also directly through the breath and the cosmic rays and the planets. So what do we mean by pure energy or Suddha Shakti? We say consciousness is Sutta Veli. That means there is no other substance in it. We call it Nirmalam, Niramayam, Nirvikalpam, etc. In the same way, the first expression of consciousness is Suddha Shakti, and that is the prana or the uh, energy particle or the God particle, whatever you want to call it. And all the other forms of energy, the transformed versions of energy, have been used to build and nourish the material aspects of this physical body or the Annamaya Kosha. The finer energy goes to the mind and intellect in the Manomaya Kosha, and the finest energy is the foundation of our causal body and the spiritual growth. Of course, we get this prana shakti from cosmic rays and thing also, but we are not able to assimilate it and live only on this energy. It's said that some yogis have achieved it. Today also there are some people called breatharians who are living without food and are able to survive with breath and cosmic energy. When one can live on their cosmic energy, the whole metabolism of the body changes. There is less wear and tear, less toxins, less waste products, which lead to enhanced health, anti-aging, improved brain function, and a long life. We can understand the logic behind this when we compare a car which runs on fuel, which is a chemical, and an electric car, which is a cleaner energy. So if you see the engine of the fuel car, there is grease, grime, and dirt. But the engine of the electric car is clean and lasts longer. But most of us have to depend on the plant food for now. So types of ojas. Ayurveda describes the types of ojas in detail. According to this, ojas in our body is of three types: the para ojas, apara ojas, and shakti rupa ojas. Para means superior, ultimate, and beyond everything. So we say Paramatma, Parabrahmam, Parampurul, Paramapadam, etc. when we refer to the ultimate source of pure consciousness. So Ayurveda says this Para Ojas is 8 drops in amount or Ashtabindu and resides in the heart responsible for its function. It's given actually the energy that is given by the parents, that is the beginning of the Para Ojas. And can we explain it medically? We all think that the heart beats automatically throughout our life. This is due to the electrical impulses starting from the sinoatrial node in the right atrium of our heart. But what initiates this electrical impulses? We know it starts from the SA node, but what initiates this electrical impulses and how is that node recharged? So is there an energy charging mechanism? It could be the para ojas. More thought and discussion are needed to confirm or reject this hypothesis. Apara ojas means worldly or material. So it is a quantity said to be Ardhanjali. Anjali means when we put our two palms together in the form of salutation or namaskara. Ardha means half. So one handful is the quantity of apara ojas formed in the body every day. It is supposed to be present throughout the body in each and every cell. I don't know how they measured and what is this thing. I'm just quoting it from some Ayurvedic text. So this is a condensed form of energy in a fluid form. Just as the liquid petroleum gas, when the petroleum gas, when it is condensed, it forms it into a liquid form inside the cylinder. So the Sanskrit word ojas is not found in any of the Siddhas or in our Tamil text, but Maharishi and Valalar are the first ones to use the word vital fluid to describe the energy or the Suddha Shakti. So the Apara Ojas is responsible for cellular metabolism, repair, rejuvenation, longevity, and health of a cell. So they have known that this there is some energy that is produced in each of the cell, and this fluid helps to generate the energy in each cell. So improving the quality and quantity of this vital fluid is the key for anti-aging and long life. So Maharishi Kaya Kalpa practice helps to achieve this purpose. So the third form is the Shakti Rupa Ojas. Shakti means energy and Rupa means form. So it is the energy form of the Ojas. Just as I told you, the liquid petroleum, when you open the tube, as it comes out as the gas, it's opened in the pranic content, and that fluid state becomes the vayu states and enters the sushumna nadi. So the same way, the ojas in the vital fluid nurtures and sustains the physical body. The ojas in energy form, that is Shakti Rupa ojas, or I don't know if you can call it the biomagnetism, augments and enhances our astral body. And this is also the basic energy necessary for our spiritual evolution. So till puberty, why is the Shukra Dhatu is not formed? Is there any ojas in children? Yes, of course, ojas is present from birth onwards, but Shukra Dhatu does not, the function of the Shukra Dhatu does not start till about puberty. So why is this? So that even from childhood, there is the Shukra Dhatu presence, but till puberty, the function doesn't start because the children grow up fast, and there is very minimal Shukra Dhatu because all the energy components are used up by the previous 5 dhatus. Children are growing up, a lot of muscle and fat and bones are formed. They're also very dynamic and active. So the major part of the chemical components of Rasa Dhatu and also the prana for the actions are used up to supply the anatomical growth and physiological needs of the body of the children. So there is minimal Shukra Dhatu formation. And the sixth Dhatu, which is Majja, which is bone marrow and nervous tissue, is also consuming a lot of these chemicals and prana, because the brain of a growing child has amazing capabilities like memory, intelligence, creativity. It not only increases in size, but functional efficiency grows rapidly by forming millions of neuronal connections. This process needs plenty of vital energy. So there is not much left for the seventh dhatu or the Shukra dhatu. That is why our gurus and Maharishi have stated that till puberty, vital fluid is stored in the brain. I'm really amazed at their wisdom. Then when puberty comes, the physical growth and brain development slows down, and then more upper ojas is available for the seventh dhatu. The rudimentary anatomical structures of the reproductive system, which are present from birth, start growing. We call this puberty when the secondary sexual characteristics are formed. So there are primary and secondary sexual characters. Primary are in men, it's the growth of the scrotum and testis and penis, secretion of reproductive hormones, and production of sperms. And in women, increase in size of the vagina and uterus, and the ovaries produce hormones to initiate the menstrual cycle and maturation of the ovum. And the secondary sex characters are the facial hair and more muscle mass and height in men, and the deepening of voice. In women, it's the development of breast, widening of the hips, and more fat in the chest. And common to both, you have pubic hair, oily skin, sudden growth spurt, and interest in the opposite sex. So when there is a reasonable maturity, both physically and psychologically, the functional aspect of the Shukra Dhatu takes over. Semen and sperm are formed in men. Ovum and vaginal cervical secretions are formed in women on a regular cyclical basis. So the trigger for this initiation of this process is in the brain and determined by genetics and epigenetics. A signaling mechanism starts in the hypothalamus of the brain, and it reaches the gonads, that is the testes and ovaries. So it's very surprising to know that our Siddhas and Maharishis have stated this fact in different words. They said the vital fluid descends from the brain to the genitals and it is stored there. So this is called the um, hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis, or the HPG axis. So the three most important areas, as you see here, are the pineal gland, hypothalamus, and the pituitary. Till puberty, the pineal gland secretes melatonin in higher quantities, and this melatonin is responsible for the biological rhythm and cycles in our body, and also the good quality of our sleep. But melatonin suppresses the hypothalamus from secreting the gonadotropin releasing hormone. So this gonadotropin hypothalamus is the bridge between our conscious and neurological brain and the subconscious endocrine system. So the positive and negative thoughts of our mind, our feelings have an effect on the hypothalamus and thereby on the endocrine system. So here we see the thing, the female HPG axis, the brain, from there the GnRH comes. So when melatonin secretion decreases after puberty, then this the suppression is gone. The effect of pineal on the hypothalamus is released, and then this hypothalamus releases an enzyme called the GnRH or gonadotropin releasing hormone. That is an order to the pituitary to release the gonadotropin hormones. This to the anterior pituitary, and then the gonads means ovary and testes. So this anterior pituitary then secretes the luteinizing hormones and follicle stimulating hormones, which act on the uterus and ovaries to produce the ovum. You can see the dots here, and also produce the hormones like estrogen and progesterone. And the same thing, it comes here. This acts on the testis to produce the sperm and the hormone, which is testosterone. So this is what is the functional aspect of the Shukra Dhatu. So due to the coordinated and harmonious function of the hypothalamus, pituitary and ovary and testis, the reproductive function is enabled. And then of course, when a mature sperm and ovum meet in an ideal environment, fertilization takes place and a new life is created. Why is so much importance given to the Shukra Dhatu in the health of a person and also spiritual process like Kaya Kalpa? I want to describe it in detail because this Ojas and Shukra Dhatu form the main component of many spiritual practices. Why are sannyasins required to maintain celibacy or brahmacharya? Why is conserving the semen equated with vitality, youthfulness, and a long life? At one ejaculation, 100 to 200 million sperms are emitted. Each sperm is an individual cell and contains more than the normal energy of any other cell because it has to travel a long distance and implant an ovum. The seminal fluid is also packed with energy to enable the journey of the sperm. Like when we travel to some place, we take katasadam, the energy is packed and sent along with the sperm in the seminal fluid. So in 1 ml of semen, 50 to 75 million sperms are present. So you can imagine how tiny a sperm is, but it has to travel 4 to 5 inches to reach the ovum. That means it has to swim 3,000 times its own length. In relative terms, that's the same energy used up by a 6-foot man swimming about 2 kilometers. So in the sequential development, we saw at the 7th level, the Shukra Dhatu consumes tremendous amount of energy, and during an emission, it is wasted. So the formation of Ojas is reduced. If this step is bypassed, or if there is minimum infrequent production or no production of Shukra Dhatu, the quantity of Ojas can be increased manifold and youthfulness can be maintained. Swami Shivananda Saraswati has said brahmacharya is not just preventing the emission of semen, but preventing the formation itself. Then this sexual energy is transmuted to the spiritual energy. It's called sex sublimation in the Western psychology. It is not the semen that is going up the brain, but the vital energy or the biomagnetism. When ejaculation is habitual, frequent, and uncontrolled, the person is constantly drained of a quantum of highly potent living essence. The body has to replace it. Again, it has to come from the food and digestion. So a constant process of metabolism through food, digestion, assimilation. This imposes a heavy working burden on the digestive system, liver, pancreas, and the glands secreting digestive enzymes, as well as the heart, the circulatory, and the excretory system also. So as a result, the cells and tissues of those systems demand replacement more rapidly with high cell turnover. This accelerates the metabolic rate and elevates the basal body temperature. Always a chronic elevation of basal body temperature is supposed to be the root cause for rapid physical degeneration, aging, disease, and death. So sublimation of sex energy slows down or reverses this process. In here, I want to add a little bit about the telomeres and aging, because Ojas is and Shukrada, the Kayakalpa practice is mainly about anti-aging also. So we talk about telomeres and aging. We all know that the telomere length is the indicator for our lifespan. So as we age, the telomere length is getting shortened. So for that, I have formed a small analogy. Supposing you have a text of 50 pages and you want to take a Xerox copy, that person asks, I don't want fees, but you give me one page as a fees. So to preserve the text, you add 50 blank pages in the end. So that is the telomere. At the end of our genes, we have small areas called the telomeres, which are blank without any genetic imprint. And then they are used up as the cells divide. Each time the cells divide, the length gets shortened. So if you take one copy per day, it will last for 50 days. And after that, the text will get eroded. But if you take 2 copies per day, it will be over in 25 days. The same way, if you take one copy in 2 days, it will last for 100 days. So it is the same thing. If you for telomeres, if your cell turnover rate is very high and the rate of cell division is high and very fast, your aging will be faster and lifespan shorter. If you can delay your rate of cell division, you can delay the aging and lengthen your lifespan. So we by using the Shukra Dhatu inadvertently, we are hastening or increasing the rate of cell division. But this sex sublimation, this is how it is enhancing our lifespan. So how do we achieve this? With the help of the mind and with the yogic practices. If one has a strong willpower, discipline, and self control and spiritual aspiration, it can be done. But it's not easy and not recommended for householders. For them, a sexual expression is natural and healthy part of marital relationship, and it should be for procreation and bonding between the couple. But moderation should be observed. If a sannyasin and our spiritual monk, celibacy is the rule because building up ojas is necessary for the intense spiritual sadhana. And then with the help of yogic practices like Kaya Kalpa, Ashwini Mudra and Mula Bandha and certain pranayama practices, you can uh, for use the sexual sublimation. So causes of decreased ojas, we saw that the increased levels of ojas is responsible for all the positive effects in our body and mind. The reverse is also true. Decreased levels of ojas has negative effect on the body and mind, and in the form of pain, disease, stress, anxiety, and depression. And the causes are threefold: a deficiency of source material, increased energy expenditure, deficiency of the conservation capacity. So, of course, as I told you, for normal people, the source is all ojas is food. So, if the food does not contain all the necessary components in the right quantity and quality, the formation of ojas will be deficient. So that is because less quantity, low quality of food, low quality of nutrients are destroyed by cooking, not enough water, and excessive fasting. In normal people, excessive fasting causes decreased ojas, but in yogis who eat frugally can have a lot of ojas because their capacity of absorbing the cosmic energy. And then digestive diseases for like non-absorption of nutrients and increase energy wastage, as we have already seen. In every dhatu, if there is any wastage of energy, ojas is reduced. So if there is blood loss due to injury, accident, surgery, or menstrual bleeding, we are drain of energy. If you are anemic due to iron or B12 deficiency, again ojas is less. After an infection or illness, when the blood cells are destroyed, energy is directed towards repairing them again, Ojas is reduced and we feel very weak. If there is excessive muscular energy loss as in strenuous labor and sports, Ojas is decreased. Bone, if there is a trauma, fracture, again the same thing. Majja, if there is excessive mental activity and excessive negative feelings like anger, worry, tension, and loss of sleep, we feel fatigued because less energy is available for Ojas formation. And negative and unfocused emotions in the mind can deplete Ojas because the mind is racing, chaotic, and there is disharmony between the body and mind. And of course, Shukra Dhatu, we have already seen this in detail. The energy loss in this Dhatu is much more than all the other things. And apart from that, excessive variations of Panchabhutas in different seasons can also affect Ojas formation. Sun, wind, heat, cold, and rain in the right amount increase our Ojas. But excessive heat, cold, rain decrease our Ojas because a lot of energy is necessary to bring homeostasis of the body. And of course, the mental causes we have seen, the decrease in the conservation capacity. So this is the Kundalini Shakti which is present in the Mooladhara, which holds the life force. When we buy a cell phone, there is an inbuilt battery, and this has a fluid or a solution which can hold the electrons and release them slowly for the cell phone to function. In the beginning, if we charge the phone at once, it may be functional for 1 or 2 days. But as the time goes on, even if you charge it fully, it functions for less than time. You may have to charge it daily or even twice a day. This is because the holding capacity of that battery diminishes with time, and at one stage it becomes dysfunctional. Same with our body. The Muladhara Chakra, the energetic center, is the battery, and the Kundalini Shakti is the medium. We are charging it daily with the Prana Shakti or Ojas or the life particles from food and breath. Still, it loses its holding capacity slowly. And with wrong food and lifestyle, we hasten the loss and death. But Kayakalpa can slow down or reverse this process. So, how to increase Ojas? With the right lifestyle, yogic practices like Kayakalpa, we can preserve and prolong in its strength and result in good health, long life, and spiritual progress. A sattvic diet with more prana, easily digestible, nutritious food like fruits, vegetables, sprouted grains, and millets, milk, ghee, honey, and nuts. So, this is what is called a yogic diet, and some herbs and a disciplined lifestyle, pranayama and kaya kalpa, and meditation for a calm mind and good sleep, because tranquility leads to a healthy ojas. All these go a long way in increasing uh, ojas. So Maharishi's moderation 5 aspect is the perfect solution to prevent the loss and increase the ojas. So, and what are the benefits of increased ojas? Increased energy to the brain, more neurons open up, concentration and clarity. You can attain siddhis, expansion of consciousness, improved health, and anti-aging. And of course, the ultimate aim is the self-realization and samadhi. So all these are possible when the levels of ojas increase with that. So this is about the practical aspects which I have studied, but I have been thinking of because when we say it a fluid, there should be a biological equivalent of ojas in our body also. So I was always thinking what could be the biological equivalent of ojas. We saw that ojas is a fluid, and that means it's a physical substance. So what is it in the physical body? In medical terms, I cannot pinpoint a biological equivalent of ojas in the body, but we will try to arrive at a plausible conclusion by comparing the effect of Ojas with some body fluids. Ojas is responsible, as we saw, uh, through immunity, growth, maintaining cell membrane function, regulating stress response, reproduction, overall physical, mental well being, anti aging, etc. The closest we can think of is the hormones. So, the hormones are chemical messengers from endocrine glands in minuscule quantities traveling via the blood throughout the body. to regulate nearly all the functions like growth, metabolism, stress response, mood changes, reproduction, and homeostasis. That is maintaining the internal balance of the body. So, you know about the some of the hormones like thyroid produces thyroxine. It regulates the metabolism, growth, and energy. Especially T4 significantly impacts the cellular energy by enhancing the ATP production and optimizing its delivery. The parathyroid regulates the calcium metabolism and then essential for optimal functioning of the heart and muscle. Pituitary, as we told already, it produces the growth hormones, which stimulates the growth and protein synthesis, etc. The ACTH controls the adrenals. FSH, LH, we saw it regulates the reproduction. And adrenal glands produce three hormones cortisol, which is responsible for the stress response, blood sugar metabolism, and inflammation, adrenaline for fight or flight response and energy distribution, and aldosterone for salt, water, and BP regulation. And pancreas has two hormones, insulin and glucagon, which carries glucose into the cells, and glucagon converts fat into glucose. So together they regulate the blood sugar levels in the body throughout the day and night. And ovaries and testes, as we saw, they produce estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone for reproduction. And hypothalamus is the link between the nervous and endocrine system. Through pituitary, it controls the entire body function. And pineal secretes the melatonin, which regulates all the circadian rhythms. So, if we see the key connections between the hormones and the ojas, there is the mind body connection through hypothalamus. There is systemic influence on all the systems, effect on immunity, vitality, and resilience, and clinical symptoms also. When there is decreased dosage, the symptoms are like hormonal deficiencies. But the difference is ojas is a single entity and hormones are multiple. So, in essence, the hormones are crucial to the functions associated with Ojas, but they do not represent it fully, I think. Ojas represents a more holistic and subtle life force that integrates the hormonal balance, the general immunity, and overall well being. So we can assume that Ojas is the biological and the energetic foundation of the whole endocrine system. So this is my personal thoughts, of course, after some reading. So your comments and suggestions are all welcome. It will help to correct any discrepancy in the text and also leads to its better understanding. வாழ்க நலமுடன். So I request some feedback and members of this August forum to tell their opinions, and any corrections are welcome because that will help me to improve on this text.
Dr. Devi, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. It is Inmugam here. I really appreciate all your efforts. I know you mentioned that you have done this one before, like observing your talk and the whole presentation very closely. Now, I want you to slightly explain between the SVF and the last, like a comparative analogy, like, so how I can compare, how I can differentiate between the SVF and the last sabta, which is the Ojas.
SVF, I don't know. That's the one thing, I always have a little bit of hesitance. I don't know what you can call the sexual vital fluid. That's why I've always used only the term the vital fluid. So when you say sexual vital fluid, it's always the connotation is about the seminal fluid. But Ojas is the vital fluid in present the whole body. That's what the Ayurveda says.
I got you. Actually, that was my deep thoughts, and see how can I get some scientific, because if we have to do or teach or give some explanation about Kaya Kalpa in the Western society, and we are actually explaining the theory of the whole the cycle, the circle that Swamiji is explaining, and it's based on the SVF. And the terminology can be slightly confusing, and the terminology like can be simplified or but I'm not mentioning about even changing the phrase or something like that, but looking for more scientific explanation of the SVF, and then how we derived that name, and how it can be explained better to the wider scientific communities. Like, I mean, I deal with same
Yeah,
like yourself.
yeah. See, in Tamil, he has given it correctly. Jiva vittu kolambu. Jivan means life. So it is a, you can call it bio-vital fluid or just vital fluid. But only I don't know how it got transformed into sexual vital fluid. And of course, that is a
Or it could
matter
be a
to be discussed.
translation error. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like when I say to my colleagues at work, or when I say to my like the GP associates and GPs here, I don't phrase it like it's kind of informal setup. Like I don't phrase it like SVF. I say some kind of a life vital fluid, or I like life performing fluid, like, but I never mention it as SVF because it
Yeah,
says Jiva Vittu Korambu, and then it doesn't
yeah,
actually translate to how we see it in Tamil. Like, so I don't know, but even thinking about is more biochemically or endocrinologically or whatever it is. Like that's what you're saying, that you don't have the um, comparables. Is it right?
yeah. It's only my thoughts, and I want inputs from others to change it or improve it. Like you people can give more inputs in that.
Thank you, Doctor. And also, I want to add something. Like when I come across people who I feel they are a bit low or down and the mental energy is not great, I only ask them to focus more on like breathing. And breathing has a very good effect on your like the Ojas and your energy system. Like, so I think it's kind of good to correlate. And you also mentioned in your presentation some people are like the breathers, like breatharians. They just
Yes,
only live by breathing, and so that's actually have a connection or whatever way it works metabolically. It does work. So that's what I'm trying to say. How it can be explored further. If I don't eat, which means that I don't make these ojas. But people are not eating and also they're making ojas.
yes. That is the way the Kechari Mudra is there. The Kechari Mudra done properly, it's supposed to stimulate a secretion called Amrit. So Mrityu means death, Amrit means which prevents death. So that fluid, when it comes from, it's called Soma um, in yogic literature. And if that secretion comes from the Bindu chakra in the brain, then there is the person who has tasted Soma or the Amrit, then he has no thirst, no hunger, he has no need for food. He can access directly the cosmic energy. So that is clearly explained in yogic texts, in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, etc. But it's a very, very difficult process for ordinary people to achieve.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you.
And of course,
Absolutely,
with
I agree with you.
pranayama, as I said, lot of pranayamas they can give you, like Bastrika pranayama and all those things. Pranayama is an art and science of absorbing the prana shakti from the atmosphere and then assimilating it into your body and then helping the kundalini shakti, recharging the kundalini and increased formation of ojas also. So pranayama definitely, as you said, it will help.
Absolutely. Yeah, I also want to even share my own personal experience that I would like to. I mean, once I was trying to do this kind of process, and I went without eating any food, just by water and breathing. I lived for 1 week, and the experience was amazing, like absolutely amazing. I felt very light. It's not because of the toxic load or the metabolic load on the body. I don't know what it is, but the description is like you felt so light, and then
Yeah.
you see energy and everything, and you don't feel tired. It's just the first 2 days, and after that, you feel like you have wings by the side of your body.
Yeah, all the energy that is used for digestion and all these metabolic processes is conserved and gives you energy to function. So that is how it works. And of course, you see a lot of people who eat a lot, they put on more fat. So what this thing says is this fat goes and clogs all the pores in your skin so that the pranic absorption becomes less. And these people have very low ojas also. So when the
True,
fat
true.
content is less, then the pores open up and the absorption of cosmic prana is more. And that's how you function better even without food.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful presentation, Doctor. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Welcome, madam.
வாழ்க
Welcome.
வளமுடன்.
I'm Leela Abhinathan.
சொல்லுங்கய்யா.
One small doubt.
சொல்லுங்க.
The sources of energy for the body. There are one is cosmic, second is through food, and through earth surface giving some energy. Like that, there is a theory in Vedatrium.
Yes.
Any idea what will be the for a normal person doing regular work? How much? Any ratios or how much? Any idea about that? How much they will get for a normal person and yogi? Mr.
Yes. See, of course, earth energy comes to us through food because the food is produced by absorbing the earth energy. But of course, directly also we can access the earth energy. And in many of
Without
the
food,
naturopathy treatments, see, you have a mud pack, a mud bath. The whole body is smeared with particular types of mud. And then walking barefoot is suggested for in every yoga practice, walking barefoot so that you can absorb that earth energy through your feet. So in that way also, part of the energy we can absorb directly from the earth and part mostly through the food.
agreed. But that means with the normal work, only through cosmic or without a food energy, we can live. That gives that idea.
Yeah, you can
Without
live,
food,
but
uh,
but
with the normal
you should
routine.
have the capacity to absorb that pranic energy. When you don't have,
Uh,
when you have not reached up to that spiritual level where you can
mm,
directly access the pranic energy, then you have to depend on the food and the chemical energy.
it indicates that we have to do regularly the meditation 2-3 times per day, and like that, if we continue, we can live without food with a normal work.
No, I don't think that is possible just with
Mm.
meditation and pranayama. With
Mm.
intense sadhana and the Kechari Mudra, like the Ojas breathing and the Kechari Mudra. Of course, Kechari Mudra, what we are doing is just folding the tongue and touching the upper palate. But there are
Mm.
4 stages of Kechari. One is just touching the upper palate, then before the uvula or the ulnaku, and then behind
Mm.
the ulnaku, and then going and blocking the whole nasopharyngeal opening itself. See, that is why some siddhars you have called you Pinnoku siddhar, Ulnoku Unnaku siddhar, Pinnaku siddhar, that they call it Punnaku siddhar actually in colloquially. So they have all perfected the Kechari mudra where they place the tip of the tongue right up to the nasopharyngeal cavity and then stimulate the place so that the nerve actually pineal gland started from the nasopharyngeal the cavity, the top of it, and then went into the brain. So the nerve connection is from the nasopharyngeal cavity, and if you can able to touch it and then stimulate it, then that bindu chakra is accessed. That is the stimulation point, and then the amrit is secreted. So that If you can perfect that, then you can live without food.
Okay, thank you, madam. Okay.
Dr. Leela Vinodmaya, I will just add some more perspectives. Like,
Yes, please.
basically, it is a very good mind-body exercise. Mind வந்து ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருக்கணும். ஏன்னா like you will be dealing with day-to-day stress, like day-to-day life activities. நான் வந்து கிளினிக்ல பேஷண்ட்ஸ் பார்த்துட்டு மறுபடியும் வந்துட்டு வீட்டுக்கு வந்து வீட்டில் எல்லாருக்கும் பார்த்துட்டு எல்லாமே இருப்பேன். பட் நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி வந்து I used to like do regular 3 times, 2 times meditation, and then stay strong with everything. So you will come across like the cravings, you will come across food, you will see people eating. ஸோ இப்போ வந்து மைண்ட் ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருக்கும்போது தான் உங்களால வந்து நீங்க சொன்ன அப்ப நீங்க அந்த கேட்ட கேள்விக்கு வந்துட்டு இப்போ இதுல இருந்து எனர்ஜி டிரைவ் பண்ண முடியுமா? See, at the end of the day, you need to be functioning. You need to be functioning your daily task. What is the point in doing this and like not functioning? People can do this without, like, they can simply stay in bed. That's not the purpose. The purpose is like how you function, how you contribute to the society, and also attain salvation or attain realization. So அப்போ வந்து நம்ம மைண்ட் எவ்வளோ ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருந்து டே டு டே ஆக்டிவிட்டிஸும் பண்ணிட்டு நம்ம அந்த காஸ்மிக் எனர்ஜி யூட்டிலைஸ் பண்றோம். அப்போ இந்த இந்த ஒரு ப்ராக்டிசஸ் வந்து காயகல்பம் அண்ட் மெடிடேஷன், இட் ஹெல்ப்ஸ் யூ அ லாட், makes your mind very stronger, and you can easily try, provided your health condition supports that. Like,
So, in short, I can say spending through 5 sensors has to be less, so that your spending part of it will be less. And incoming, even if it is less, it balances. It is only a question of incoming and spending. So, if your spending is less, then incoming, whatever coming from cosmic, may be balancing. I conclude like that. Only spending part you have to reduce through skin or all the mental through mind, and all these things. Spending should be reduced to condition. Can be with that condition we can have with the cosmetic energy, cosmic energy.
oh
I can
sure, but
understand. I can
you'll be
understand.
doing some, you'll be doing some like the minimal function, like, and minimal function வந்துட்டு that இப்போ நீங்க ஒர்க் போறீங்கன்னா ஒர்க்ல பண்ற ஆக்டிவிட்டிஸ் நீங்க பண்ண முடியணும். உங்களுக்கு வந்துட்டு இப்போ வேற என்ன ஆக்டிவிட்டிஸ் இருக்கு அதெல்லாம் பண்ண முடியணும். இப்போ நீங்க அந்த 5 சென்சஸ் வந்துட்டு if you say that you are going to cut down or minimize on the other 5 senses, but we have to do the basic function, like the basic living activity should sustain, and then you feel that you're still energetic and you're performing the daily task and daily responsibilities, then it goes like that. But Dr. Devi, I have another question. Lot
Yes.
of these saints that you mentioned, that like they stop the formation of this ojas or the like the semen, and then
Yes.
so they don't have to worry about like, I mean, maintaining the, because Swamiji says that, I mean, it is also one of the product, like a produced or production that you have, the excess need to be excreted. And even it is, I mean, been referenced to Ayurveda or other textbook, that, I mean, every fortnight or once in a month or something like that, that it need to be, what do you call, expelled in the right way, in the socially acceptable way, like. But there are the situations where even the leading yogis or even the saints, they get into trouble with this. And like, I was
Yes.
researching very deeply pre-COVID about all the allegations and everything attached to the different school of yogas. And one of the world famous school of yoga is Swami Sivananda Yoga. They are international, like, and it is one of the yoga guru. He was actually involved in some allegation connected to this, like sexual allegation, and then the world leaders of the yoga flew into that. It was actually published. It was all published in the newspaper, and then they have to go into that yoga place and then to inquire what happened. And they have to give that. I mean, guru. He was one of the top guru actually. Basically, my focus here is like something is going wrong there. How they handle this, and then they get into trouble with this, and that is we can see it from many schools of yoga, either in India or in overseas. I don't know where they are making this mistake.
Yeah, because all the gurus are not yogis. Theoretically, intellectually, they're all gurus, but a yogi is one who has experienced it, and then who has 100% control over his senses and the reproductive this thing. And of course, there are certain practices that they follow, certain pranayamas, and then the way they've used that wooden slippers which they hold with their big toe and the second toe in between. They walk with that slipper. Even that is supposed to give them control over their seminal formation, so they can prevent. See, when there is excess, when there is formation, then it has to be sent out, as Swamiji said. And that is why it is not advisable for householders. But for yogis, it is possible that it may not be formed at all. So then that energy becomes the spiritual energy and goes up the sushumna. But all the gurus are not yogis.
I got you. Yeah. Thank you for that too.
Yes. கேக்குதுங்க.
The Maharishi used to say the four characters of absolute space: the பேராற்றல், பேரறிவு, பூரணம், காலம், வற்றாயிருப்பு. So these are the four qualities of the absolute space. But what in addition to these four, what he says is all the four act in combination. They don't understand absolute space in four separate ways. When these energies are separately present, they don't represent the divinity. And when these are all well inseparable, the qualities, they merge with one with the other, and that is manifesting in a different way. So what we are doing is we are trying to understand பேராற்றல் separately, பேரறிவு separately, and the rest of it also separately. And we don't understand the absolute space in the real sense. Similarly, we have the 7 chakras and all the activities that can be experienced in the 7th chakra, in the Sahasradhara, cannot be experienced in the Mooladhara chakra. And if you see, they are all integrated. The vital energy, if you are happy with it, or as Maharishi puts it, sexual vital fluid, is accumulated in the Mooladhara. And the field which is acting at Mooladhara is the sexual vital fluid with a higher concentration in the core of the body. Around the genetic center, the concentration of the sexual vital fluid is more. And that's why the fertilization of the egg is possible in the Mooladhara, not in the Sahasradhara. And the activity of these 7 chakras, 7 levels, are different in different ways. So we have to take that into consideration, this thing. If you are existing yourself in the Sahasradhara, Turiya, and beyond Turiya. Then the five senses, sense organs, they don't disturb you. If you come below the level of the eyes, these sense organs torture you. So you gain the experience of the world through these sense organs, and in yogic practice, you renounce these sense organs, you negate the sense organs, don't allow the energy to be spent via these sense organs. That accumulated, that surplus, unused, when the decrease of expenditure results in the conservation of the vital energy, that helps in the higher activity. The yet another thing is, when you meditate in the higher centers, you are getting connected to the cosmic energy. The cosmic vitality energy is mega, mega, mega. And the individual Chitakasa, the individual's energy is micro, micro, micro. And when you connect yourself to the vital energy in the above in the universe, just above the Turiya, the atmosphere and the internal atmosphere itself, the field of activity is totally different. And that's why, to allow the ascent of the vital energy, which takes place even normally with yama and niyama and yogic practices, the ascent is facilitated. He achieves more. But we are not considering giving due importance to the stage where you operate. Do you operate your Manipuraga or Anagata or Ragya or Turiya? So that is also necessary. These 7 chakras specialize, accumulate different kinds of energy required for that particular activity given to that chakra. So that is also to be considered. And with today's lecture, Enmagarajan, what is the difference between Dr. Swathanthira Devi's presentation and a Sky Professor's presentation? What is the difference? Enmagarajan
Hello?
is there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Davis' presentation is more like an medical biology with the extended aspects of like a yogic physiology, like yoga physiology or the physiology of um, Ojas, or the physiology of the Tadus, like Sapta Tadus. Yeah.
What is the difference between the presentation of a Sky Professor and Dr. Devi?
Well, I have not much listened to the Sky Professor's one, but from the old experience, or I can say I'm not sure, Doctor. I honestly cannot compare.
வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Right.
See, the Sky Professor's presentation and Dr. Rabi's presentation is always about the causal body. And my presentation is mostly about the physical body or a little bit into the subtle body. I've always said this, and for this presentation also, I'm saying the same thing. This is more the biological aspects and little bit into the energy aspect of it. Whereas Dr. Rabi and Sky professors always talk about the causal body and causal energy. So that is the difference. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
If
Thank
you
you,
allow
doctor.
me
You
to
saved
see
me.
the difference, what it is. Shall I proceed, Inmagarajan?
Please do, doctor. Please.
Right. See, to me, the difference is Dr. Devi's presentation is holistic, not isolated Vedadriyam. She has gathered points from all the available sources and consolidated, synthesized, she gives, that it impresses you about the clarity and the connectivity and the meaning of what she says. Whereas in as Sky professors, in a Vedadriyan presentation, it is not that holistic. It is purely Vedadriyan. And if you are 100% Vedadriyan, you are able to understand. But you know the perfection of the Vedadriyan masters. So that is the difficulty. And what I tell Dr. Devi is we don't have any reservation. We have been together for nearly 40, 50 years. So I ventilate my ideas freely to her, and she also does the same. And what is required is a simple, isolated sky study has many lacunas unless you practice to taste the amrita secretion. Whereas in her presentation, she fills up the gaps with information from all around. She is not confined herself to one system. See, a holistic approach is there. Here, it is unless you complete. What I mean to say is, when you do a meditation, you connect yourself at Turiya or Turyatita meditation. You connect it with the cosmic energy. And there you have a high energy of the subatomic particles and the divine energy, you can call it, is more available. And this connection of meditation draws the high potency energy into the low energy Jivatma. And this energy seeping into the body of this sadhaka, the sky practitioner, is really, if he concentrates and tries to absorb more energy, then he can also experience so many different things. So what is this energy of the divine energy? It is nothing but the biomagnetic energy in a concentrated form, which you can call it Ojas energy. And with practice, repeated practice, you are able to transform the biomagnetic energy, which is the lowest, to the highest, namely the Ojas energy or the divine energy itself. When you stay at the Sahasradhara, when you stay at the Turyatita, the or the LifeForce particle, Akash particle, becomes different from what a non-practitioner is having. In a practice, a sky practitioner, if he is successful in doing it, he is least disturbed in the Turyatita state, and in him, the ratio of the absolute space against the space filled by the Vedan particles. This ratio changes to a great extent when you stay successfully in Turyatita. Virtually the space occupied by the particles become minimum, and you are to a great extent filled with absolute space. So you manifest more divinity then. And if you practice the yogic practices, which Maharishi also tells, you have control over your senses, and the yama and niyama of such a person becomes different, and the practice also gives great results. When we are not reaching the perfection, we are not able to understand or practice what we hear, what we learn about. And another thing which I want to say, Maharishi, in Tamil he says Jiva Vittu Kolambu, but in English, right from the beginning to the last, he has not changed the sexual vital fluid. He doesn't call it vital fluid, as many of the sky practitioners are also feeling that they are allergic to the word sex, whereas you get procreation only in the Mooladhara, not in the Sahasradhara. And the sex part is attached to the sexual vital fluid. It has a somatic component and a sexual component. The sexual component produces the progeny. The non-sexual part elevates you to the heights of the spiritual practice. So, as long as we are existing in the Mooladhara, below the level of the eyelids, we cannot eliminate the sex of it, and it is sexual vital fluid only. When you remain above the Ajna level, to the Turiya and Turyatita level, then you need not use, you can remove the sex word from the vital fluid. The functions of the sexual vital fluid is both not body alone, somatic alone. It is sexual and somatic. So that's why it is sexual vital fluid. Okay, all heard of that. Thanks for you.